Good day, everyone. Today's topic is about reproduction. Here is an outline. We are going to start with reproduction in vertebrates. It's part of the grade 12 syllabus. Then we cover human reproduction. The terminology. The word reproduction is the production of a new generation of organisms from an existing generation. It involves firstly the production of young and then the growth and development of the young into mature adults. It is a life process that ensures the continued survival of a population. Reproductive strategies represent a set of behavioral, morphological, and physiological adaptations that facilitate access to potential mates, improve the chances of mating and fertilization. Okay? And enhance infant survival. Altricial development is the reproductive strategy when hatchlings or babes are not able to move and feed themselves. Amniotic egg, the type of an egg where the embryo develops inside a fluid-filled sac which is surrounded by a shell. Allantois is the structure in the amniotic egg that stores waste. External fertilization refers to the type of fertilization in which the nucleus of a sperm fuses with the nucleus of an ovum outside the body of the female. Whereas internal fertilization is fertilization in which the nucleus of a sperm fuses with the nucleus of an ovum inside the reproductive system of the female. Lastly, the word ovipary is the reproductive strategy involving the laying of eggs. There are several behavioral methods used in reproduction in vertebrates. We have already defined what external fertilization is. We have a sperm that will fuse with an egg. An example is frogs, jellyfish, some wormfish. So the eggs are deposited in the fashion, receive little or no parental protection, and will soon hatch into small wriggling tadpoles. What happens is the female will release the eggs in water, and the male will discharge the sperm cells directly into water. And fertilization will take outside the body of the female. This type of fertilization or reproduction has got both advantages and disadvantages. One advantage is that there's no energy needed for parental care. The male does not have to inject or transfer sperms into the body of a female. And the chances of fertilization are enhanced by courtship, displayed like in a fish. So there's no much energy that is being used. A disadvantage is that there are very slim chances for a sperm cell to meet with an egg of the same species. Sometimes predators will eat the sperm and the egg cells before fertilization can even take place. So dehydration might take place because these eggs are released out of the body of a female. Then we have internal fertilization, as displayed by an animal on this picture. This is where sperm cells are now transferred into the female body through copulation, and the fusion of an egg and a sperm is inside the body of a female. An example is the terrestrial mammals, some birds and insects. Just like external fertilization or reproduction, there are some advantages and disadvantages. Advantage is that the sperm cell will always come into contact with an egg, unlike the sperms and egg cells that are released in water. So the developing embryo is protected, cannot be eaten by predators like in external fertilization. And there's protection from harsh environments. So fewer eggs as a disadvantage are produced, and the male must have a copulatory organ to insert the sperm cells into the female body. Then we have these types of reproduction. Ovipary. Ovipary simply means egg laying. As indicated on the diagram, the egg is being laid. These eggs are protected by a very hard shell or a jelly-like layer after fertilization. So development of this organism does not occur inside the body. It takes place outside the body. It is completed inside the egg after it has been laid. Examples are frogs, insects, birds, and marine animals. Ovipary has got advantages and disadvantages. One advantage is that the egg and sperm cells are produced in large numbers to increase chances of survival to adulthood. And there's much energy invested for parental care. And this parental care will ensure survival to adulthood. But the disadvantage is mortality rate is very high. Most of the young ones die at an early age or young age. Then we have what we call ovovivipary. These are animals that do not lay eggs, but keep them in their bodies until they hatch. The body temperature is necessary or is suitable for them to hatch. So there's no connection between the embryo and the mother. Examples are sharks, lizards, cockroaches, and some snakes. It has got its advantage and disadvantage. One advantage is that the young one is protected from cold and predators to ensure survival. Another one, the young one can develop to a fairly large size before birth. And among some snake species, females bear live young. This method of reproduction may be beneficial to snakes that live in cold climates because the pregnant female can bask in the sun to keep her developing offspring warm. The disadvantage is there's low reproductive potential because only one or a few eggs or larvae are produced at a time. Another one is viviparity, and it refers to animals that give birth to live young ones, like human beings. So we fall under viviparity. There is the connection between the developing fetus and the mother. So example is human beings, whales, and kangaroos. What are the advantages and disadvantages? The advantage is the temperature is regulated by the mother. The mother provides nutrition for the young one. Mortality rate is lower. Parental care ensures survival to adulthood. Disadvantages are there is a number of offspring. The number of offspring produced are few. More energy is used to provide parental care. This is the structure of an amniotic egg, which is laid by reptiles, birds, and some of the mammals. So the embryo develops inside the amnion and is protected by many membranes and hard shell. This fluid, called amniotic fluid, protects the embryo from drying out, from dehydration. And this developing embryo feeds from the yolk. And the allantois is responsible for the removal of metabolic waste, whereas the chorion supplies oxygen, food, and water. These eggs are resistant to dryness, so oviparous animals can move into various environments, and it is protected by a number of membranes. The evolutionary advantage. A critical evolutionary development for terrestrial animals is the reptilian amniotic egg, now also characteristics of birds and some mammals. It's already mentioned, the embryo is protected. It can survive out of water and in a variety of habitats. And we also made mention of the fact that the yolk will provide food, the allantois will remove waste, and oxygen will be supplied. We have again under vertebrates what we call the precocial development. And this is a situation whereby young ones are relatively mature and are able to move around after they are born or hatch, like an elephant or the springbok. Their eyes are open and they have good eyesight. They can go out to search food for themselves, have a strong skeleton, and their bodies either covered by feathers or hair in mammals. They need their parents to keep them warm, but this lasts for a short period, whereas mammals can regulate their body temperature. So examples of precocial development are birds, cattle, sheep, antelopes, buffalo, elephants, hippos, and giraffe. And the example that I gave here to say it's a okay. Then we have what we call altricial development. By this development, we refer to the situation whereby young ones are unable to move after birth, are helpless, like a newborn baby. They do not have feathers, they're blind. They need to be fed and kept warm. It also refers to looking after young ones through feeding, keeping them warm, protecting them from the predators. Such animals give rise to few offspring. The next section is about human reproduction. Let's look at the body of the male and the female reproductive organs. We start with the female reproductive organ. It is called the female reproductive system, which is made up of a number of parts. If you look at the diagram on your left, you will see several parts that form the female reproductive system. There is the uterus, also called the womb, made up of layer, called the inner layer called the endometrium. There are 2 ovaries and 2 fallopian tubes. There's the vagina, there's the cervix. Now the uterus is the part of the female reproductive system where the unborn baby is developing and growing. The fallopian tubes or oviducts are structures through which an egg travels from the ovary into the uterus and out of the body through menstruation. The egg that is being fertilized, the process takes place inside the fallopian tube, and the zygote, which is formed after fertilization, will travel along the fallopian tube. Look at the end part of the fallopian tube. It looks like the funnel. It is called the infundibulum. It has got some finger-like structures which are used to hold the released egg cell from the ovary. These fimbriae or finger-like structures are in constant movement to make sure that the egg that is being released from the ovary does not fall or it is taken into the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube is made up of very special epithelial tissue called the ciliated epithelial tissue. There's got cilia, which helps with the propelling of the egg cell. And the ovaries are part of the female reproductive system responsible for the formation of egg cells, the process called oogenesis. Every month, these ovaries, they alternate. This month is August. If ovary A produces an egg this month, then the next month, which is September, another ovary will produce an egg. So they alternate. The vagina is called the birth canal. It is the structure through which sperm cells enter the body of a female. The sperm cells that are needed to fertilize an egg released from the ovaries. The release of such an egg is called ovulation. So ovulation simply means the release of an egg cell, whereas the mouth of the uterus or womb is called the cervix. So the cervix is an opening that leads to the vagina. And here is an egg of a female human being. It has got the nucleus. It has got the jelly-like coat called the zona pellucida. It has got the polar body. And remember, the nucleus is haploid. The word haploid simply means that this nucleus have half the number of chromosomes. A normal human being has got 46 chromosomes, but this nucleus have 23, all because of meiosis that we discussed earlier on. And there's also cytoplasm. There's also the mitochondria that produces energy. Remember, ATP is energy that is produced during respiration. Okay, then we move to the male reproductive organ. On your right-hand side, there are several parts of the male reproductive system. We have the testes that are responsible for the formation of sperm cells. We call that process spermatogenesis. Two of them, they are producing sperm cells, and these sperm cells production is called spermatogenesis. And these sperm cells, after they are produced, they travel through this part called the vas deferens. And there's another part, even though it's not visible on this diagram, it is called the epididymis. So the epididymis is the part of the male reproductive system that is used to store sperm cells. So when sperm cells are produced and released into the epididymis, for them to be matured, for them to be able to fertilize an egg, they must stay there for some days. When sperm cells are produced, let's say for an example today, and they're being taken out of the body through ejaculation today, they are not fully matured. So they must be left in the epididymis for some time for them to mature. So this part next to this is the testis. The epididymis is somewhere here. They are being stored there. And then when they are matured, then they can be fertile enough to fertilize an egg cell. We also have quite a number of glands, the corpus glands, the seminal vesicle, and the prostate gland. Let's start with the corpus gland. First, it produces an alkaline fluid that neutralizes the acid of the urine in the urethra. The very same alkaline fluid also helps with the neutralization of the acid in the female body. In the vagina of a female body, there is the pH there is acidic. And sperms do not survive in an acidic pH. They survive in an alkaline pH. So why are we talking about the residue of urine in the urethra? Remember, unlike females who have both who have the urethra separate them from other parts of the female reproductive system. In the male reproductive system, the urethra, there's only one opening in the penis called urethra, which serves two purposes. One, it is used to excrete, to take out urine. Number two, to release sperm cells. So this urine is acidic. So the alkalinic medium or fluid that is being preserved by the corpus gland helps with the reduction of this acidic pH. This corpus gland also provides some lubrication for the tip of the penis during intercourse. Another gland called seminal vesicle contains fructose, which is a carbohydrate. It's food. It provides energy for the sperms that are being produced to enable them to be more mobile and viable. Then we have the prostate gland that secretes a milky and alkaline fluid that enhances the motility of the sperm. So the prostate gland also provides the alkaline fluid, just like the corpus gland, to neutralize the acidic nature where these sperm cells travels. Now, the corpus glands, seminal vesicle, and prostate glands, all of them produce fluids. And the sperm cells that are produced from the testes swim in this fluid. So during ejaculation, when the male human being produces sperm cells, one would see that fluid, milky-like fluid, because of prostate gland. We refer to that as semen. It is not sperm cells. The sperm cells, are part of the semen, but one cannot see a sperm with the naked eye. So all these glands produce a fluid that helps the sperm cell to swim towards the fallopian tube, where egg cells are, to fertilize an egg. This penis is an organ for copulation. It is an organ that is used to transfer sperms from the male body into the female body. The process called copulation or sexual intercourse Here is the structure of a sperm cell. It has got the head, the neck, the middle piece, and the tail. Very important for you to know. It's so important for you to know the structure of a sperm cell. So the head is covered by a cap-like structure termed an acrosome. And there's also the nucleus that contains DNA. Look at the neck, it's so narrow. It contains a funnel-like shape, basal body, and a spherical centriole. There's also this middle piece, the connecting piece, which helps to establish a union between the head and the remaining part of a spermatozoid. The middle piece consists of the mitochondria. Every time you see the mitochondrion, think about respiration and also think about energy. There's energy that is being produced, the energy that the sperm requires to swim into the fallopian tube. And this whip-like tail helps to propel the sperm cell towards the egg, where fertilization takes place. These are schematic representations of spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Just to summarize, the sperm cells and egg cells, remember, are formed from a diploid cell. 2N means diploid. And then after meiosis, there'll be sperm cells that are haploid. Haploid sperm cells are produced. After fertilization, we will have a diploid zygote. Okay, we have what we call the ovarian cycle in the female body. What does this mean? The ovarian cycle simply indicates what happens during the formation of egg cells up until the egg cell is being released, the process known as ovulation. And it also indicates several hormones that play a role that help with the preparation of the female body for the possible implantation. We have female hormones that prepare the uterus or the womb for the possible pregnancy or implantation. Now, let's go back to the structure of the female reproductive system, where we saw the structure of the uterus as well as the ovaries. In the ovaries, I made mention of the fact that egg cells are produced. Now, the production of eggs is initiated by the hormone called follicle stimulating hormone that is produced by the pituitary gland. When this hormone is produced, a follicle is formed. Starts with primary follicle. It then develops further into a Graafian follicle. And remember, inside these follicles, there is a developing egg cell. And when the egg cell is matured or fully developed, it is then released. And after an egg cell is released, this empty follicle is filled up with what we call corpus luteum. The corpus luteum, which will produce another hormone called progesterone. Let me go back here again to indicate to you that it is not only the follicle stimulating hormone that features here on the first stage of the development of a follicle. We also have estrogen. And the function of estrogen that is being released by this follicle is to prepare the uterus or the womb for the possible pregnancy or implantation. Now, how is the womb or uterus prepared? The endometrium is vascularized. What is the meaning of this? So many blood vessels develop filled with blood, and the endometrium will also become thicker. The layer doubles. All these happen to prepare the uterus for the possible pregnancy or implantation. So I have mentioned so far two hormones. The first one is the estrogen, which helps with the preparation of the uterus. Another one is the follicle stimulating hormone. Then the third hormone is called the luteinizing hormone. What is the function of the luteinizing hormone? Bear in mind that the luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone are produced by the pituitary gland, the gland that is situated next to the brain in the head. So the function of the luteinizing hormone is to cause ovulation. What is ovulation? The release of an egg cell. When luteinizing hormone is being produced, then an egg cell is released. I also make mention of another hormone here called progesterone, which is produced by a mass of cells that occupied the empty follicle after ovulation. This mass of cells is called corpus luteum. Progesterone's function is to make the final preparation of the womb or of the uterus. When an egg cell is fertilized by a sperm, the corpus luteum will continue, meaning it will not disintegrate, to keep on producing progesterone. So another function of progesterone at a later stage, when fertilization has taken place, it is to take care of the developing fetus up until the so-called placenta is formed. We'll talk more about the placenta later. But if fertilization of an egg cell does not take place, the corpus luteum will disintegrate like here. It dissolves and disappears only when fertilization does not take place. So we have got three phases here. There's the follicular phase where a follicle is formed. We have the parts where an egg is released, and this luteal phase of the development of the corpus luteum that produces progesterone. And finally, if no fertilization takes place, it will disintegrate. The same story that I've been explaining is here. It is here. Let's start here. Look at the primary oocyte. This is the ovary. This is the ovary of the female reproductive system. The primary oocyte and the primary follicle will start developing, and the Graafian follicle will develop from the primary follicle. Then finally, when the egg is matured, is being released here, the process called ovulation. Then a mass of cells will occupy an empty Graafian follicle, the so-called corpus luteum, and it will only degenerate if pregnancy does not take place. It is the same story here, but in addition, we're looking at the hormonal control. This is the hypothalamus. It's part of the brain. Just beneath the hypothalamus, we have a gland called pituitary gland. It has got the anterior and posterior part. The anterior lobe or anterior part produces two hormones, the follicle stimulating hormone, abbreviated FSH, the luteinizing hormone, abbreviated as LH, and the FSH will control the development of the follicle from primary until Graafian follicle. The LH will cause ovulation. An empty follicle will be occupied by corpus luteum that will release a hormone called progesterone. This diagram here indicates what we call the changes that happen during menstruation. Menstruation is that process whereby the uterus sheds the endometrium wall and the blood which accumulated in preparation for pregnancy. So, look at this part here. From day 1 until day 4, the woman will shed blood, and we will call this the menses or menstruation. After menstruation, the follicular phase that was indicated in the previous diagram starts. What does it mean? The development of a follicle starts, meaning the pituitary gland will release the FSH, which will start the development of a primary follicle with the primary oocyte, then the Graafian follicle with the mature egg cell, and ovulation taking place on day 15 here. After ovulation, we have the luteal phase, which we discussed earlier on, the phase whereby an empty follicle is occupied by corpus luteum, and if pregnancy takes place, it will continue. The progesterone hormone will be continuously produced to take care of the developing baby. So the same diagram is the one that we saw in the previous picture, where there is a small primary follicle. It develops in stages up until it is bigger. We call this the mature follicle or the Graafian follicle. And obviously, as it matures, an egg cell will also mature and be ready to be released. The process called ovulation. And here is the corpus luteum now occupying the empty follicle. If there's no pregnancy, we're looking at this regressing corpus luteum. It degenerates, it dissolves and disappears. All right, this is the same thing that was shown in the diagram about the menstrual cycle, which is the monthly cycle of changes in the female reproductive system. Its duration is about 28 days. It is controlled by hormones. Which hormones? Estrogen, progesterone, FSH, and LH. In day 1 to 5, the level of sex hormones in the body is low. The endometrium disintegrates and its blood vessels ruptures and is passed out during menstruation. So when you are asked to define what menstruation is, you would say it is the process whereby the endometrium wall disintegrates and blood from the blood vessels ruptures, and this blood and the endometrium lining moves out of the body. This process is called menstruation. From day 6 to 13, one of the ovarian follicle increases production of estrogen. Remember what I said about estrogen? It prepares the uterus. The inner lining of the uterus is called the endometrium. It becomes thicker. And day 14, ovulation will take place, meaning the release of an egg cell. Day 15 to 28, the corpus luteum will be formed and it will produce the hormone called progesterone, and this endometrium is further prepared for the possible pregnancy by the progesterone. So finally, if there's no fertilization taking place, blood and the endometrium lining will be shed out of the female body, the process known as menstruation. So if fertilization takes place, the lifespan of the egg is very short. It can take maybe 24 hours for an egg cell to survive. Some research say maybe up to 48, but majority they talk about 24 hours, which means when an egg is released, it must be fertilized on that day. Otherwise, if a sperm cannot reach an egg after day 1, that egg will be dead. But literature also says that research says the sperm can survive up to 3 days. It is unlike an egg cell. So fertilization takes place inside the fallopian tube, not in the womb, not in the vagina. It takes place in the fallopian tube, the first quarter of the fallopian tube. And the process whereby fertilization has taken place and now pregnancy has started, we call it the gestation period. And when we talk fertilization, we refer to the fusion of the nucleus. Remember this? Fertilization is the fusion of the nucleus, which is a haploid of a sperm, with a nucleus, also haploid of an ovum, to form the zygote. Immediately after fertilization has taken place, remember the structure of an egg cell? I talked about the zona pellucida. That jelly-like substance of the egg cell will protect the egg for further penetration by a sperm. So only one sperm will fertilize one egg. After fertilization, a zygote is formed. It will undergo mitosis and form cells, a morula cells, which will continue dividing to form a hollow-like ball called the blastocyst. The blastocyst is then implanted in the lining of the uterus. We refer to the process whereby the blastocyst, which is the fetus, is now attached to the wall of the uterus. We refer to that process as implantation. Okay? Now, this developing baby now is inside the uterus. The so-called placenta will start to develop. It is in the placenta where the baby develops. The placenta develops surrounding the whole developing baby, and there is the fluid called the membranes and fluid. The membranes are allantois, amnion, and chorion, and the fluid called amniotic fluid. These are all responsible for protection. The amniotic fluid in particular protects the developing baby from shock. And the chorion, which is the outer layer, protect the developing baby also. So all these form part of what we call the placenta. Here is the baby that is developing inside the body of the mother. This is the womb. The whole part here is the womb, but it is in the womb where the placenta develops. So this baby develops inside the placenta. It is called the fetus. And there's a fluid here, as already mentioned. The inner layer of this placenta is called the amnion, and the outer layer is called the chorion. This is the umbilical cord. This is the cord which serves to feed the baby. It connects the baby with the mother. Whatever mother eats or whatever waste that are formed, they are taken out of the baby through the umbilical cord. The oxygen and some of the nutrients are taken to the baby via the umbilical cord. This is the cervix and the vagina. Remember, another function of the vagina is that it serves as a birth canal. This developing baby When it is matured after 9 months, it will go out of the body of the mother through the birth canal, which is the vagina. So these are several steps showing the stages and growth of the fetus from 4 to 40 weeks when this baby is born. Right? Then when this baby is fully grown up after 40 weeks, we then have that process whereby the woman develops some pains now, contractions of the uterine wall, and we say she's in labor. Those contractions help to push the baby out of the mother's body, and the baby will normally come out of the mother's body through the head, but sometimes the baby might come out through the legs, then they'll call that a breeze. And most of the people undergo cesarean birth because it is not the normal way of the baby coming out of the mother's body. And then we have several methods to prevent pregnancy. There are some contraceptives, and we call these ways of managing pregnancy. We have what you call barrier methods, where you make use of physical obstructions to the movement of sperm into the female reproductive tract. The most popular barrier is the use of a condom. And then we have hormonal methods, where you make use of combination of synthetic estrogen and progestin. We also have intrauterine methods, which are devices that are placed in the uterus. They are usually shaped like a T, just to prevent sperm cells from fertilizing an egg. Some are contraceptive pills, some are injections, and some people even use what you call abortion, which is not healthy, which is not safe, as a method of get rid of pregnancy. We also have ways in which some people who are unable to give birth can be used. What we call in vitro fertilization, the IVF. Eggs are combined with sperm in a laboratory dish. So fertilization occurs and an embryo made of 2 or 4 cells is removed. The embryo is then transferred into the mother's body, the surrogate mothers. Sometimes in this kind of a practice, you would find that this couple cannot give birth. So after their sperm and egg are being used, they're being implanted or transferred into another woman. We call that surrogacy. We also have the gamete intrafallopian transfer, where eggs and sperm are collected in a syringe, and fertilized eggs and sperm are transferred to fallopian tube. And fertilization occurs naturally in the fallopian tube. Another method is the zygote intrafallopian transfer. Eggs are combined with sperm in a laboratory dish. fertilization occurs and a single-celled embryo called a zygote is removed. Zygote is transferred to fallopian tube where it grows normally and travels to woman's uterus. And lastly, we have intracytoplasmic sperm injection, where a single sperm is removed from man's semen. The single sperm is injected into an egg in a laboratory dish, and the fertilized egg is transferred to the woman's uterus. Okay, thank you so much for your time. We have come to the end of this presentation.